But regression analysis is always very easy, so long as you know you have the concepts at hand and you know how to go about them. Again, break-even point analysis, we talked about it, and I believe you remember the introduction part of it where we talked about it at length and what is expected of you. I gave you formulas. I remember the formulas I gave you of break-even point if you want to get it in units, in shillings. We talked about contribution margin. We talked about contribution margin ratio. And we, after we did our regression analysis, we were able to come up with cost estimations. And members, those are concepts of management accounting we've done. Now, today, we also have another question here. We just want to see, is there a new concept the examiner was trying to bring here? We are in cost estimation, and in most cases, they might combine cost estimation aspects with the break-even point analysis. So we just need to see where are they, meeting, or what concepts is the examiner trying to test us on. So let's look at this question number 23. I will read it. Sunrise Limited manufactures office cabinets, and they do that for both local and export markets. Now, there is a data given there that relates to cost of production of those cabinets that they sell or they manufacture. So we have selling price per unit, which is 10,000. We have variable cost per unit, which is 5,000. We have total fixed cost given at 50 million. And the required part, someone is in a tax class and also attending management accounting. People are always wanting problems. I don't even understand how you manage to go through the two at the same time. I know pressure is increasing. Pressure is increasing. People are realizing it's now late. You can't kill two birds with one stone. It's not possible. I mean, your mind works in a very funny way. So you just need to focus. Just try to focus. I mean, you'll confuse yourself. That's why you get to an examination and you start sweating, because your mind is even confused, doesn't know which concept to bring first, which one to follow. Please, let's try to focus. All right. So the required part is there, and part A is asking you in batches of 1,000 units, determine the break-even point in units using a graph. And then you are told to indicate the profit zone and the loss zone in that graph that you're supposed to come up with. So that is 8 marks. Then part B is asking you that the management of this company is evaluating various production and sales levels so that they be able to determine the profit after tax. You are told to assume a tax rate of 30% and also go ahead and plot a graph which shows revenue and profit after tax. You see, dashboarding is being set, in wide range here, and that is a concept that no one in this meeting should be able to miss. Part C, you are told that the management of this company, again, wants to evaluate effect of selling at various percentages above the break-even point. So you see, our reference is the break-even point there. And beginning from 0% and in batches of 5%, change point up to 50%. So from 0, interval is 5, and it goes up to 50%. So you are being given a range that you should use to draw that graph. You remember, a graph needs to be normal so that interpretation and clarity is guaranteed. So you are told to plot a graph depicting target revenue, target profit after tax, and also margin of safety. There is a new concept there called margin of safety. So we need to know, what is this margin of safety? How do we get it? And how do we use that concept to answer the question in this pot here. All right. Somebody has not seen the question. Rose Joy, the question I shared long ago in the WhatsApp group, April 2024, question number 23, long ago. You've just woken up, I guess. All right, so let's start. So members, we have the information and we just need to put it into perspective. Starting from the required part A, we are told that we are supposed to determine the break-even point in units. And this, we are not doing using the formula which we already know. We are supposed to do that using a graph, where in that graph, we are supposed to show two zones. One zone is profit zone, and the other zone is the loss zone. So to put it into perspective, we just need to remind ourselves of this simple concept. We know that when you talk about total cost, remember we have two aspects of cost, variable and fixed. So you know that total cost is made up of those two, total variable cost plus total fixed cost. That is a very basic reminder, which I believe we all remember. So again, we are being told about break-even in units, break-even point in units. So that also should tell us to remind ourselves about what is this break-even point? What is this break-even point? And we know break-even point is the point where you are neither making a profit or loss. It is a point that you are breaking even. So we know that at break-even point, we know that total revenue equals to total cost. No profit, no loss. Let me put it in a capital. So total revenue equals to total cost, like that. Now, members, after we've known, and of course all of us now can interpret what break-even point is, and we are supposed to come up with a graph. We're just laying ground. And what we are being told here is to get break-even point in units. Break-even point in units. So we just remind ourselves of that formula which I had given you and we all discussed, and I believe we can remember break-even point in units. In units, we know that that one is the total fixed cost divided by contribution margin. I believe, if my memory serves me right, that's what we discussed, total fixed cost divided by contribution margin. So you need to ask yourself, do you know how to get contribution margin itself? And again, do you know what it means? And do you know the difference between contribution margin and contribution margin ratio? Very simple concepts which we have discussed. All I ask of you is to make sure you remember. All I ask of you is to make sure you remember those concepts. All right. So with that simple information, I would want us to use the break-even point in units formula so that we just get to know what is our break-even point before we come up with a graph. Remember, we are told to draw a graph. But as we draw the graph, we need to already have an idea because we have the formula. Why not? We know how to get, we know total fixed cost is given here in this information. What we need to compute is the contribution margin. And I just need somebody to remind us, how do we get contribution margin? Which formula? We already talked about it. Just a quick one. Somebody there. Hey, Elo has used a lot of initials there. Where did you come up with such very long initials? Total revenue minus total variable cost. Really? Contribution margin? Really? Okay, when you go to the total side, okay. You're just right. If you do the total sides, but I just need per unit. Selling price minus variable cost. Thank you, Steve-O. Thank you, Gracie, Vayo there. All right, Mika and Oppo. Thank you, members. I think all of us agree. You may be able to express the formula in different ways, but what you mean is the same thing. Some others go with the total version of it, where instead of talking about selling price, they talk about revenue. Instead of talking about variable cost per unit, they talk about total variable cost. It's still the same formula, in different perspectives. Now, because we have information given in per unit form here, I would want us to go with the per unit. So why don't we go ahead and get the break-even point in units? I put an equal sign, start with the total fixed costs, which is the numerator there, and we have it in the information. So I refer to the 50 million. Divide that by, I open a bracket, compute our contribution margin, compute our contribution margin, and we are picking the selling price per unit. We get its difference with the variable cost per unit. So where is the selling price per unit? It is here. That is 10,000. Then I deduct the variable cost per unit, and I close bracket. I confirm. I have my break-even point in units, and I can see I'm having 10,000. So 10,000 units is the break-even point in units. So when we draw our graph, we already have a reference point. We know where it should fall, it should lie. So we are going to see that in a very short while. Now, we want to come up with a graph so that we get this break-even point in units. To get it, I want us to refer to these elements. You see, it is from these elements that we've been able to get the break-even point in units from this formula. We have brought on board total fixed cost. We have brought on board, revenue aspect, that is the selling price per unit. We've also brought on board variable cost per unit, or simply variable cost. So I want us to connect those units so that we come up with this graph. So to come up with a graph, we want to start with the units. And remember, we were told in part A, in batches of 1,000, in batches of 1,000. Now, we want to answer that question. In batches of 1,000 mean we have an interval of 1,000. So allow me to come up with a column here, and I write units. And as I write units, the examiner has told us in batches of 1,000, like that. So the interval will be 1,000. And we should move with a range from the batches of 1,000 to determine the break-even point. And we may not know actually where to stop. We've just been told batches of 1,000. Now, it is upon you to ask yourself, you want to draw a graph. Your graph has to appear normal. Now, if it is in batches of 1,000, you start from 0, you jump to 1,000. The next one should be another interval of 1,000, meaning it goes to 2,000. So your judgment will be guided by what we've computed up here. Judgment of where do we stop? From these batches of 1,000, where do we stop? Now, this will be our reference point to see where we should stop so that our graph appear normal. We know that our break-even point in units will be 10,000. So we have to go from this 0, 1,000, all the way to 10,000. That will be our break-even point. Then we also go some miles above it or beyond it. So we could give ourselves a range. After the 10,000, we could go to 15,000 or to 20,000 so that our graph will appear normal. So we can start that and we can go all the way. So we can, if we reach here, this is the break-even point, the 10,000 mark, break-even point. So from here, we could go an extra, let's go even to 20,000 like that, so that we know that our break-even point will lie there. But we are giving allowances before and after. The graph has to be normal. Now, after that, did the examiner give us any other conditions? We were just told to determine the break-even point in units, and we indicate the profit and the loss zones. So no further complications. So it is us to ask ourselves, how do we compute break-even point in units? We already have the formula, meaning we need to bring on board this reminder that at break-even point, we said revenue equals to cost. You are not making a profit, you're not making a loss. So let's bring on board our revenue. Remember, where these two graphs intersect, that should be the break-even point. And at that point, it should be at point 0. No profit, no loss. Now, total revenue, we bring there. Then, of course, cost has two aspects. We have fixed costs and we have also variable costs. We have fixed cost and variable cost. But before we do that, we need to bring on board total fixed cost, which remains constant. Fixed costs do not depend on units. Regardless of the units, whether it's 1,000, whether it's 10, whether it's the 20, our fixed cost will always remain constant. So let's just bring the column of total fixed cost, and I just want to refer to our fixed cost given, and I want to fully fix it, to fully lock it, because that one remains constant within the range of data that we are working with. I've just double-clicked, and then I autofill all of it to the end. That one remains constant. What will keep changing is the aspect of total cost. Remember, total cost has aspects of both variable and fixed. So I'm bringing on board total cost here. Let me bolden these titles there. So TC there, I want it to represent total cost. But before we do that, maybe let's fill that column of revenue. How do we get revenue? In reference to units, and we also have selling price per unit here. That should really be very easy. This should be very easy, members. There is selling price per unit we were given, and now we have the number of units. So why don't we go ahead and multiply the two so that we have our revenue figure there? So what do? I want to come here and I refer to the selling price per unit. Remember, this one is remaining constant. So the best thing to do, you have to fully fix it. How do you fully fix? Using F4 or function F4 key, or you can introduce the dollar signs manually, whichever works for you best. Multiply by the unit. Here, we don't need to lock anything. If you must lock, if you really love locking things, then you better lock the column, but not the row, because we want the Excel to move from unit 0 to 1,000 all the way to 20,000, and we will have our total revenues in each case. So I confirm, and my revenue when unit is 0 is also 0. What do? I will not repeat that formula for the rest. I just want to autofill by either holding it by the tail and dragging, or I just hit it twice. and then it will autofill. So whichever way you desire, go ahead. For me, I want to double tap. I want to double click it at this lower right corner, bottom right corner of this.
Pardon.
Yes?
Kindly pardon that formula there.
Revenue is selling price per unit multiplied by the number of units. Selling price per unit, and make sure you fully lock the selling price per unit. You multiply that by the number of units, and when you refer to the unit here, we are starting with 0. Do not lock anything. Do not lock anything, because we want to autofill the formula. We want to autofill that formula. All right, so after that, we already have our revenue for unit 0. So when I double click, you'll see my revenues have already been autofilled to the end for the 0 to 20,000 units there. So that is step number 1. So remember, break-even point is when this total revenue and total cost intersect, or when the figures are equal, meaning no profit, no loss. In reference to the formula we know, how do we normally get revenue? How do we normally get a profit? When you compare revenue and costs. So that is, this information is going to help us to come up with that graph to show the break-even point, the loss zone, and the profit zones, like that. All right? Good. So we are moving to the next step. We come to the total cost, and I want to believe we know total cost elements. That's why I even wrote this here when we were starting, just to remind us that total cost has elements of variable cost and fixed cost. We've already brought on board our fixed costs, which also do not depend on the number of units. It is remaining constant. So what we are supposed to add to it is the total variable cost. Now that the examiner was very kind to give us variable cost per unit, and we also have the number of units, it is very easy for us to get the total variable cost. We just multiply the variable cost per unit with the number of units. We have our total variable cost. Then, to get our total cost, we will add the fixed costs that already we have brought on board there. So on the cell, the first cell there, total cost, I want us to start by referring to the total fixed cost, which of course remains constant there. So I have referred to that cell of total fixed cost. Then we add the total variable cost. How do we get total variable cost? I want to open a bracket. Then refer to the variable cost per unit. Variable cost per unit. We multiply by the number of units. Our first cell, our first row there, number of units is 0. So I've referred to 0. Now, at this point in time, remember, our variable cost per unit is not changing. The cell C7, you see this cell here, C7, variable cost per unit. That cell, we have to fully lock it because we would want to fill our formula. So how do we lock it? I'm using my F4 key. You could use function F4 or you could insert the dollar signs manually. If you really love inserting things manually, you can insert the dollar signs manually. I hope we are moving together. So that will give us total variable cost. This section will give us total variable cost. We have total fixed cost. When we add the two, that's when we'll get our total cost. Our total cost. It has those two elements. I'm referring to this formula which I had written when we were starting. Total fixed plus total variable. This is how to get the total variable. Variable cost per unit times the number of units. So remember to set those formulas to refer to them. The only locking that we have done is on the variable cost per unit because this one is constant and we are using it to get the total variable cost. All right. So I will close that bracket and I will say that should give us total cost. I confirm and I have total cost for the first row. Now that we have set that formula, members, we do not need to repeat the same for all these units. No, that's why you are locking that variable cost per unit so that when I pull the tail of this angry rabbit, lower bottom right corner, then I hit it twice, or I can hold on to it and then drag, but I don't like dragging. I like hitting it twice. And then I have my figures all auto-filled to the end. That is the total costs column done. I hope we are together. I hope we are together there. I hope we are together. Doro is not seeing my screen very well. Doro, I've just have increased my font. Not font really, but I've zoomed in my formula, my screen, my window. Is it better, Doro? Is it better? Is it visible? I hope it is. I hope it is. Confirm, Doro, is it now visible? Confirm. All right, thank you. So members, I hope we are all together. We've done the total cost. Now we are moving to the next stage. What we are asking ourselves is, remember, the question part A wanted us to determine the break-even point, but that is not enough. We should also go ahead and indicate which zone is profit zone and which zone is the loss zone in that very graph. Now, if we are interested in profit and loss, and of course that is by default, why? We are talking about break-even. At break-even point, you're not making a profit, you're not making a loss, meaning at that point, the net effect is zero. So for us to show the profit zone and the loss zone, we need to ask ourselves, how would we normally get profit? I mentioned it a short while ago, and I believe it's something we know. Profit is the difference between total revenue and total cost. So why don't we just come up with this column? We call it profit. We compute it here between the total revenue, and then we get the difference with total cost. So where is revenue? This is the column for revenue. Then we get the difference with total cost. Then we confirm and realize that for the first row, our profit is negative, meaning it's not even a profit, it's a loss of 50 million. We autofill to the end, and I want you to focus at the break-even point in units. You realize there is no profit, there is no loss. Our profit column at that point is 0, showing 0. That is the essence at break-even point. All right. Now let's go ahead and draw the graph so that we see how it appears. It appears. Metrin is still stuck at total cost. Metrin, total cost. What I said is total cost, referring to this aspect here, has two elements, fixed cost and variable. So we refer to the fixed cost, then we add onto it total variable. How do you get total variable? It is variable cost per unit. Refer to this cell and fully lock it. You add, you add, you add. Not add but multiply. Total variable cost per unit, you multiply by the number of units. So you refer, but do not lock the units column. Do not lock the cell for units because you want to auto-fail. That's how you get the total cost. Total fixed plus total variable. Total variable is variable cost per unit times the number of units. I hope Metrin or any other person who did not get it, now you should be good. You should be good. All right. Now, members, let's go ahead and now draw the graph to represent what the examiner wants. That is part A of the required. Now, let's draw and then indicate these zones. Let's draw and indicate the zones. All right. Now, in an exam, when you can, if you can, in an exam, you could give your answers immediately below the question. In an exam, if you can, you could be giving your answers immediately below the question, or you could still go with the same approach here, but you make sure you indicate to the examiner that these are my solutions, and then you show the examiner which question you are answering. You say, this is part A. You tell the examiner, this is part A of the workings, so that the examiner will see a trend. Do not give examiners hard time to look for your answers. That's why I'm saying if it's possible in an exam, you just create more rows here. I believe you know how to create more rows in such a case. You do not have to right click, then you say insert, then you say, you see, the row comes. No, that is wasting a lot of time. You just use your control shift, then you click on the plus sign. You insert as many rows or columns as you need. So for now, because I had adopted this other approach of giving my answer here, I do not want to go that route because you already see it's interfering with the alignment of my table here. So I do not want to add more rows there, but I'm just giving you an alternative so that the examiners get easy time to view your workings. All right, now members, how do we go and insert this graph? Let's all highlight the table, and our table should be very guided. We already have information we need. Remember, in our table, in our graph, we must show units. Units must show in our graph. Why? Because the question wanted us to get or determine the break-even point in units. So this column of units must appear. Yes? Then, after the units, because we need to show the profit and the loss zone, we need to show the break-even point and the profit and the loss zone. For us to make a profit, we have to compare total revenue and total cost. You get that, members? We have to compare total revenue and total cost. So those two columns must also appear in our graph. Then, because we are using total revenue and total cost, the other element of total cost we know is a variable and fixed. So we have also to bring the total fixed cost, but this is not mandatory, it's not a must. Once we have total revenue and total cost, automatically our profit comes. So do you know that what that means? We do not have to highlight the profit column when inserting our graph. So when inserting our graph, what we do, highlight from units all the way to total cost. Yes, all the way to total cost. I believe you know how to highlight. Once you've done that, you can hold onto your control shift down arrow to highlight all that table. Instead of doing it manually, you could still do it manually and it works. But I'm assuming a situation where you have a wide range of data. You drag it manually, and yet there is a shortcut provided. Control Shift down arrow after you've highlighted the titles. So you cannot use Control Shift down arrow before you highlight the whole thing. You cannot click on units alone, and you want to use Control Shift down arrow means you're only highlighting the first column. So if you want to highlight all of them together, first give it a range. I want to highlight from units, total revenue, total cost, and fixed cost. Then you just stop there and you relax. Yes, after you've relaxed, hold on your Control Shift and then relax again. Then go to your down arrow. Yes, click on it once and everything is highlighted, members. Very simple. Then after that is highlighted, you go to your Insert tab. Insert. You see Insert tab? Yes, on your Excel window, you go there. Then what do you do with that? You want to insert a chart. So somebody will go directly and click on recommended charts. It's okay. Somebody will want to list all charts using this button here. It's okay. Either way, you'll still do the same thing. So I like going to all charts because recommended comes by default. You see recommended charts come by default there? Yes. Now, we want to show
Mwalimu,
break-even
kindly.
point. Is someone speaking?
Hello, Mwalimu.
Yes?
Is there an issue if I don't get recommended charts in my Excel? Or
There should really be no issue.
there's no issue? It's not
That is
automatic.
just a proposal. They're giving you a proposal of possible charts, but it does not mean you have to use them. No. So long as you can see all the charts, you're good.
My question is,
Yes?
I'm not getting any recommended charts in my Excel.
That's why I'm saying you don't have to get recommended charts.
Okay. Sawa.
Are you able to see all charts?
I can see all charts.
That's all you need.
Okay, sawa. Thank you.
Because the recommended ones normally come from all the charts. Yeah, so
Okay.
once you can see all charts here, then you're good. So
Sawa. Thank you.
now, all right, welcome. Now that we have the charts here, what you need to ask yourself is which type of chart, and I had mentioned this before when we were doing the previous questions. I had said no examiner will restrict you on the type of chart to use. And no examiner would also penalize you if you use different charts for a question. What the examiner will be interested in, because examiner also understands and they know all the possible charts that will display the information correctly. It is left upon you to decide, given the type of data you have and the information you're presenting. That's why the required part is saying very well that your chart should show break-even point in sales, in units, and again, it should show profit and loss zones. So it is left upon you to ask yourself, if I use this column chart now, for example, under all charts, does it show me the profit zone and the loss zone? Does it show me the break-even point in units? You will realize that this clustered column chart may not really clearly show that. So you need to try checking out the others. You need to try checking out. So you check, for example, let's go to the line. And you realize that if you all look at this line graph, this line chart, you realize that there is a point of intersection of two lines. So there are some two lines that have intersected. And you ask yourself, why would they intersect? And they've even given you the colors of those lines. Down there, you can see the blue one is units. There is the total revenue. I'm not very good in colors, so ladies, maybe you'll forgive me. If I say that is yellow and orange or red, I don't know, but I believe we can all see them. This is very interesting. I don't know which one is yellow, which one is red. Is it orange? I don't know. So I can see total revenue represented by red. From my interpretation, it is red. If it is not, you'll let us know which is the correct one. Then I can see orange one representing total cost. So if total revenue and total cost curve, those lines intersect at some point, and we already have an idea at break-even point, the profit is zero, loss is zero. They are intersecting. Now you have an idea that this could be representing what you're looking at. Then you can also be able to ask yourself, what is a loss zone and what is a profit zone? Loss zone is where total cost is more than total revenue. Profit zone is where total revenue is more than total cost. Yes, is someone speaking?
Yes. I'm asking, If I picked only two variables, like only the units and the profits, will I be penalized?
Have you tried picking and inserting a chart to see how it appears?
Yeah, it appears a straight line, but still showing the break-even point at 10,000 units.
Does it show you, will it show you the profit zone and the loss zone?
It will show, because the profit zone will be on the top and the loss zone will be below the 10,000 point.
So long as you will show the examiner the areas very well, you are still okay. You'll still be okay. So that's why examiners will never dictate to you the type of chart you use. They will never do that. It is upon you to reason out and see and ask yourself, will somebody understand what I'm presenting? That is the most important thing. So even if you don't highlight the whole range of data, like now Mercy there, you are still okay. So long as you show the profit and the loss zone, you show all that the examiner wants, break even in units, and also you show the profit and the loss zones, it's still okay. And that's because obviously you ask yourself, like now the Mercy's case, well, how do we get profit? How do we get profit? We get profit when we compare revenue and cost. So when you go and highlight the profit column and you pick with the units column, you are still picking everything that you need. You've already picked on the end product of profit and you are comparing that with the units. So, I mean, it's still okay. But now for my case, I want to show everything here so that it is clearly visible. So I've picked on the line chart, the first one there. You don't have to pick the same. I've just picked on it because I feel it will show all that which I need, all that which I need. My chart is not moving very well the way I want. Okay, it's come. So with this chart here, I put it just directly below my table. So with this, my chart here, if I want to show the break-even point in units, you realize that my break-even point in units is here, where there is already the amount. Where was the break-even point in units? It is this one. At break-even point, you know that our revenue was 100 million. Our cost was also 100 million, meaning there is no profit. So if you look at that, you realize there is 100 million here. And at that point, that's when profit was zero. Yes, and loss was also zero. So that is the point we could say that is our break-even point. That is our break-even point. If you want to use another type of chart from after inserting this, you want to change the design, you could as well still go and choose. For example, if you want to use this one here, you could still pick on it to change on the color so that it is clearly visible, and you expand it so that you increase the size for clear visibility. All right. Then I told you to remember to name your axis. Remember to name your axis. So once you click on your chart, there will be a plus sign that comes there on the chart elements. Click on it. Then you mark on axis titles. And then you name. Obviously, you can see my y-axis has the units. Or we can call it, no, it is not units. These are amounts because it was revenue. So this is revenue in shillings. Yes. Revenue in shillings. Our units should be really on the x-axis. Our units should be on the x-axis. But I will ask you, are our units on the x-axis? The answer is no. What do you do in such a case? You come to chart design, then you come to select data and you confirm the alignment of your axis. You realize that y-axis, our y-axis, we have the legend and the horizontal. Horizontal is the x. So our unit should be on the x-axis. You see what they've written there? They've written 1, 2, 3, and all that. We don't need that. So what do you do in such a case? I want to tell Excel the correct x-axis arrangement on the variables. So I come to edit. And when I come to edit, it asks me to give the axis label range. So I will come and highlight the unit that I want from 0 all the way to 20,000. And I release, I confirm. When I do that, you see, I've already changed the horizontal axis variables. And you can see now I have units from 0 to 20,000. I don't have to touch on my y-axis. No, that one is not, I don't need to touch on it. I confirm by saying, okay, And we can see from now my chart, it has changed. My chart has now changed, and you can see that my x-axis has units. So the title there, I will just come and say the title is units. Someone will ask, why am I using units? Because I want to present the break-even point in units, That is what the examiner wants. So that is units. So you can as well see, if I change, let me see if there is another design which is a bit different from this. Again, the design that you use is your own choice. The examiner will also not dictate. So you are very free to always change and use whichever. Can use this graphical appearing like this, having the grid lines, but really, let me see, there was this grid lines here. I could even pick on that, yes. I'm bring on board the grid lines so that we see at what point is the intersection and which number of units is it, commensurate to. And we can see at the point of intersection, when the value is 100 million, that is when the revenue and the cost at 100 million, you see the number of units is 10,000. The number of units is 10,000. And we also have confirmed using our formula there that that is the break-even point in units. So we are showing that units using a graph. That's what the examiner wants. But now, how do we show it? Don't leave the examiner to identify it for you. Please indicate to the examiner, where is the break-even point, where is the profit and the loss zones. All right. Somebody asking, repeat out how you change the access units. So how I did it, click on the chart, go to chart design. Then after clicking on the chart design, go to the select data. You'll see there is this pop-up window. I hope you are there. The first step is to click on the chart. Once you click on the chart, I want you to check on your Excel window, the menu. Then come and click on the chart design. After you click on the chart design, there is that tab written select data. Click on that select data. You'll see this window that is showing up. So if you want to change the axis, the row alignment, whatever is on the Y to be on the X and all that, you could use the switch row and column tab, or you can come and change the X-axis and the Y-axis manually here, where that's what I did. My X-axis here, written horizontal axis, was showing numerals like 0, 1, 2. So what I did, I go to edit. You see this tab, click on the tab of edit. Once you click on the tab of edit, come and highlight the range of the variables you want to appear on the X-axis. And in our case, it was these units. So I came and highlighted the units from 0 all the way to 20,000. Then that's how it all came here, like that. I hope the member who was asking that you've already seen it. How to choose the chart styles. Now, the chart style to use, really, you will just come here. When you click on that chart itself, you see the chart design. Once you are on the chart design, all these styles will come by default. You'll see them here. So it is you to choose which one. So you can just hover around using your mouse to see which design is more appealing to you. Which one do you feel will really show your data or your graph well the way you want it. And this is not cast on stone. You choose whichever you feel is okay for you. Now, for somebody who wants to choose this, for example, you see some of these things is left to your conscience. Now, if you choose something like this, even to you, when you want to give an examiner something like this, assume you are the examiner and you get a student that given you a chart like this. And it's not that this is the only type that they could get. They just decided to bring you this one. How are you supposed to even award marks here? You see? So the examiner will even wonder why you left all these types and decided to bring this. You see, it is not wrong, but the type of data and how the data is appearing, I mean, it's not even clear to show what the examiner wants. So it is left to your conscience to see which one really will show, exactly what you need. Yes, which one will show exactly what you need? Someone is asking, how do you insert? How do you? Let me read the question again. How do we name the axis? I said, once you click on your chart, there is this plus sign. There is chart elements showing. It could be on the right, it could be on the left. So once you see the chart elements, there is a plus sign there, there is a funnel shape, and then there is a paintbrush for the chart styles. So you could always, this paintbrush for the chart styles, simply if you want to work with the colors, if you want to change the colors, if maybe the color that is displaying is not appealing to you, you could come here and change. You can see the charts will come with different colors. So you could either use that tab to change that and even go to colors and choose the colors which you want. If you like blue, if you like which color, you could still go ahead and do that. If you want also to change the style, you could still go ahead and pick any, or you can use the upper tab. Upper tab, they have the same things. You can see even the change color tab is here. Yes, at the top of the window, and the styles are all here. So whichever, I mean, you have all the options you need. And again, when you name the axis, click on that plus sign and mark on this axis titles. You see that? Just mark on it. Once you check on it, then you'll see they want you to name the Y, give the title, name the X. Now we need to give the title. I had mentioned about how to give chart titles in our last session. And we said, when you want to give the chart title, refer to the type of data that you are presenting. Remember, the required part of the question we are answering was asking, indicate or determine the break-even point in units, and again indicate profit and loss zones. Yes, so the major reference point is the break-even, because it is from the break-even that you can identify profit and loss zones. Yes, so to give, again, the chart title is also open. You don't have to use a specific description. You can use any, so long as you're describing the same thing. For me, I will, and I said last time, in most cases, if you can use the type, if you can give the type of the chart you've used, it will make the examiner happy. And you want the examiner to be happy with your work. Now we picked on the line graph. So why don't I just say line graph, and you just give it, what does it show? Showing, line graph showing. Now I can write a long one, but again, I want to choose a shorter one because you remember our major interest is the break-even point, loss and profit side, showing break-even point in units and shillings, like that. Remember, we have both units. Break-even point is showing in both units, and again in shillings. Shillings is appearing on the y-axis, unit is appearing on the x-axis. So that's what once you give a title like that, I mean, you've described the type of chart that you've already given. The title is already there. Yes. Okay, somebody's saying, why is it that my Excel, part of recommending chart does not work? But you don't have to have the recommended charts. All these charts, in fact, I've not used recommended charts. I've gone to all charts. You don't have to go to recommended. Just go to all charts and then you choose which chart you feel, which type of chart you feel. Recommended is simply giving you, trying to make your work easy by giving you options. But all whatever is in recommended, and you can see, you can even see what they're now telling me, that recommendations are not available for the data you selected. Yes. Now for you to get recommended charts, you have to select the data that you need. Yes. So for my case, now, if, for example, I select, that's why I told you, members, you have to select first. The reason for selecting is you're already telling Excel that now, when I go to insert, so immediately you click on that chart, like recommended, or you just click on all of them, it will recommend for you because you've given it a range. And I guess Mercy had used this one here. Mercy had used the scatter, where there is only one line. Mercy, why do you choose very simple things like that?
Normally, mine did not come like that. It came one line, but not as straight as yours. It was.
Oh, okay. I was wondering why
Yeah,
you have
it's not the
very
same as
simple
yours.
things.
It's a very nice graph.
It's okay. It's okay. So I'm hoping the member who was asking about the recommended charts, you should be able to now just insert the chart. And if you highlight the data like I've done, you should have recommended. And again, you don't have to have it anyway, because you have all the charts here. You have all of them, all right? So members, once we have that, we can now go ahead and show or indicate the points. We've already identified the break-even. So how do you show it? Now, on your insert, while you are still on the insert tab, come to insert now the text box. You see, on my window, you can see where my cursor is. At the top right corner, there is this tab written text. I will click on the down arrow and then I choose on text box. Pick on that text box. Then you come and draw it where you want to show the break even. Now like that, I want to show mine here. And I just say BEP, break even point, like that. So you can move it to where I want, like that, so that it's written just on top of that point. So examiner will see that this is the break-even point. Then the examiner also wanted us to show the profit zone and the loss zone. Now, above the break-even point, now you are starting to make profit. Below the break-even point, you are still on the loss side of it. You are on the loss side of it. So this is the loss zone, this is the profit zone. So what do? You go again and you insert. You go again and you insert the chart. I'm just trying to expand this, my chart, a little bit. I want to expand it a little bit like that. Okay. So you go again and insert. Go to the insert tab. I want to insert again another text box. And the text box I want to insert, I want to show the profit zone. So using that text box there, and I can even change the how it is aligned. You see that, so that it is well typed there. I want to show it here like this, and I say this is, why does it keep disappearing? My text box keeps disappearing. It keeps disappearing. So let me just type it first, profit zone like that. Then I can now twist it a bit. And then I want to move it up here so that it is showing profit zone. So I've marked the profit zone. Yes, I have marked the profit zone there. The color of my chart is not very interesting to me. I can choose another color. Let me see. Yes, let me choose that one for clear visibility. Then we also show the loss zone. Loss zone is below the break-even point. So how do you do that? You again use the same tab. Go to Insert tab. Then we are inserting a text box. Go and pick on the text box. Then we show where is the loss zone. Loss zone is below the break-even point here. So from here, I just insert and say loss zone, like that, loss zone. So in that loss zone, now again, I change the alignment a bit like that, yes. And then just move it a bit and you leave it there like that. So again, whenever you are inserting that text box you are inserting, you just go, you don't have to really go and do a lot of aesthetics, because you can change a lot of things on that text box. You can change the shape, you can change the model, so that you see it appears the way you want. Like now you can see this one is highlighted, yes, and this one was clear. So I can still do away with it like that, then insert a clear one. How do you insert a clear one? I don't do on any setting. I just go and click on insert. I draw it and then I just say loss zone like that. It has insisted to come with the same, but there is really no problem. I change the alignment and then I move it to that zone, to that area like that, to that area like that. Let me format that shape and I will say, I don't want any fill. Let me see. But really, these are just aesthetics now. You really don't have to worry about editing the shapes and the effects and the reflections and all that, really. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So members, I hope you've been able to see how to indicate the profit and the loss zone. I want to believe you've seen how to indicate the profit and the loss zones in this our chart. That's what examiner wanted us to do for part A of that question, for part A of the question. So we go and check on part B. What are the part or what other thing did the examiner wanted us to do? Hey, somebody is asking, must we do all this in an exam? Is this thing much really? Is it a lot really? What we've done here is something which is very simple. It's just that we are explaining, I'm explaining and answering questions from members, but what we've done here is something that do not even take, cannot even take you 3 minutes. I mean, just inserting a chart. At where will the marks come from? But you are answering a question. You are answering a question. Yes. Or you're asking the other person who was asking, we have to do all this. I mean, if you need marks, if you need the scores, unless you don't need the scores, you have to answer the question, showing the break-even point. That one, there are marks there. The graph itself is, you have to score from the graph. And remember, this computation that we've used to insert the graph, this one also, it will be marked. So out of the 8 marks, some of the 8 marks will come from here. Yes. And again, the remaining ones will come from here. They will see profit, break-even is there, profit is there, loss is there. Which type of chart have you labeled the axis? That's why these small things are very important, because the labelings will give you marks. The title, the Y, and the X. That's already 3 marks, right? Then loss zone, break-even, profit zone, another 3 marks. That is how many marks? 6 marks. The other 2 marks you'll get from the table, or from the type of the chart if it is appropriate for presenting whatever you've presented. But again, you can't score profit zone and loss zone if they are not correctly presented. So the examiner will also award you the other 2 marks there, and you are good with the 8 marks, all right? Okay, too much in a graph. Okay, so you need a lot of marks. Why are you saying it is too much for the graph alone? I mean, unless you don't want to pass BDA, you tell us, then we understand. Now, part B. Let's look at part B. Part B saying the management of this company is now evaluating various production and sales levels, and they want to determine the profit after tax. So we've been given a tax rate there of 30%, and we are told to plot a graph which shows revenue and profit after tax. Right? Now, as we start part B, I want to give you 2 minutes break, then we resume from there. So once you have the concept, really, that should not really be a problem, but thank you. Okay, now we have the profit, and we know profit is the difference between revenue and cost, like that. I just autofill, I double tap, and it goes to the end. Now, members, we've been told here, part B, to determine profit after tax, and tax rate has been given. Then we plot a graph to show the revenue and profit after tax. Now, revenue we already have. You see the revenue we have here. Now, all we need is profit after tax. Then we plot a graph showing the two. The graph we need to plot shows revenue and the profit after tax. So how do we compute the tax? Using the tax rate. So I will write there tax. Tax rate has been given. Tax rate has been given. And remember, we have losses and we have profits. But that should not really worry us, because if it is a loss, we will have a negative tax. We claim, we will not pay, but we claim. And because we need to draw a graph, there is really no problem. Whether we have losses or we have profit, let's compute all the tax on that rate, even though we know from our accounting knowledge that in this case, you are not paying tax. because it is a negative, it's a loss, you are not paying. But we just, for the sake of drawing the graph to appear normal, let's just compute the tax across. Now, I've typed in 30%. When you type in 30% manually, it is the same as you are fully locking. You could have written 30% somewhere in a cell, you refer to it, but you fully lock. But there is really no need for that. Just type 30%, multiply by the profit. Then you have your tax on that profit. I double tap or double click, and it computes for me taxes across the board up to the 20,000 unit, like that. Then, once that is done, now we can go ahead and now get profit after tax, profit after tax, profit after tax. So we come there and say, how do we get profit after tax? Let me just type there PAT, profit after tax, because this is what we need to plot in a graph. Profit after tax is now the profit itself. Profit after tax is now the profit itself. Then we compare, or we deduct the tax bit of it. Profit, then we deduct the tax bit of it. Now, you have a loss of negative 50. And the tax is negative 15. Do we add or we subtract to get the profit after tax? Somebody, simple logic.
We add, Molim, we add.
Simple logic.
We add.
If you add, okay, let me see. Simple logic, let me see what others are saying. Okay, add. All right. So I will go ahead and add like that. And we have profit after tax, negative 65,000. I love this logic. Now,
we subtract.
Do you see the profit after tax figure? Are you happy with that figure?
We subtract.
We subtract. That's right. We subtract. We don't add. We subtract. So profit, then you subtract tax. If the tax is negative, obviously it will work out itself and give you profit after tax of negative 35. Remember, you made a loss of 50,000. You do not go ahead and pay tax. It reduces your loss. It reduces your loss like that. So we normally deduct profit, you deduct the tax bit of it. Regardless of the signs there, just do the subtraction. I autofill to the end, and we have, so if you want to see it clearly, look at the profit zone after the break even. Look at the profit zone. You'll see if the profit was 5 million, tax is 1.5, the profit after tax will be 3.5. So that is it. If you are adding, then you want to tell me profit after tax is the total of these two. 6.5 million. Really? No, we are deducting. Mika is saying we add until break-even point. Mika, I know the type of argument you want to bring on board there, but because you want just to draw a graph, that really may not be necessary. So just use the uniform formula like that and leave it there. Then we now have to insert or to plot a graph. Now look at what they want us to present, the variables. The variables to plot is revenue and profit after tax only. Revenue and profit after tax only. So what do you do in that case? Come and highlight the revenue column. How do you highlight? Hold on Control Shift down arrow. Yes? Then as you hold on your control, you come back and click on profit after tax. Which one did I highlight? Oh, I've used the first table. I should use this second table. Okay, it is revenue and profit after tax. So I highlight it. Then we go to profit after tax. I click on it again, hold on Shift, down arrow like that. So I've highlighted the two columns. So just highlight the two columns only. That's what we need to insert in a plot in a graph. We don't need the units. HP, the units is not important here. We don't need the units, though we can as well bring it on board, but it is not really necessary. It is not mandatory, that is. But we could as well bring it on board because all these revenues, which eventually gives us profit, it comes from revenue. It comes from the unit. So there is really no problem. I hold on my control shift down arrow. Then as I hold on control still, I will come and now click on that profit after tax, hold on shift down arrow to have the 3 columns highlighted. So for the units, you don't have to bring, not a must, but to give a comparison between revenue and profit after tax, we need something on the x-axis. So for the item we need on the x-axis, let it be units. It's still okay. It's still okay. Then we go and insert. Because we've highlighted, Excel will give us recommended charts, but we can as well go for all of them, then recommended will still come here. Then we're supposed to compare. What are we comparing? We are comparing values, revenue values and profit values. So in comparing values, mostly clustered column charts are normally best. Line graph is used for comparison of trend. You can see recommendations are there, but really I don't like the recommendations they've given because now, but again, I think this one also clustered column here, they've given yeah, I didn't see it before, but clustered column they have given, which is okay. Let me look at this. This one, alignment of this clustered bar. This one looks complicated. I want a simple one. I think this one is simple enough. Clustered column used to compare values. Yes, we want to compare values. So I can just choose on this clustered column like that. I pick on that clustered column and I drag my chart down here. I drag it down here. I drag it here. And when I bring my chart here like that, and I expand it a bit to make it more visible, like that. Now, inserting a graph or a chart, I believe all of us should not have a problem. No one should have a problem now. So Maria is saying, I can't highlight both. Maria, you can. You can. Do you know what you do, Maria? Maria, what you do is simple. Kindly follow this one. You see the units and the total revenue. Highlight the 2 rows. 2 columns like that, 2 rows like that. The 2 cells, let me call them cells for easy identification. The cell of units and total revenue, just highlight and then release your mouse, leave it highlighted like that. Then once it is highlighted, on your keyboard, hold on Control Shift. Hold on Control Shift on your keyboard. Then go to the down arrow, click on it once. Then, remember, you are still holding on Control Shift, right? Release Shift, release on Shift, but still hold on Control. Release on the Shift button and still hold on Control. Then navigate the window, go back to your profit after tax. With your cursor, click once on the profit after tax cell. You see that cell, click on it once. You click on it, you are still holding on Control, remember? Click on that profit after tax. Then, because you want to highlight it again, that column going down, click now hold on again Shift, go back to your Shift tab and click on it while holding on Control. So your Shift and Control are now still, you hold on them. Then go to the page down, to the down arrow, click on it once. You've highlighted the columns that you need. If that is so difficult, if that one is so difficult, there is still another way. Do you know the other way? It is very easy. Just go and highlight everything. Highlight everything like that. Go to Insert. Go to Insert. You've highlighted everything, remember? Go to Insert. And then you say, I want to insert this type of column, this clustered column. After you've done that, you know what you do? Very simple. Go to the Select Data. Then you will see that on your y-axis, you have everything, including the ones you don't need. Remember, we only need the total revenue, right? So remove total fixed cost by this tab, say remove. Remove total cost, say remove. Did you want profit? The answer is no, remove. Did you want tax? The answer is no, remove. What did you want to appear on the y-axis? Revenue and profit after tax. X-axis, it is just units. You've already aligned what you need, and then you say, okay, your graph is still very good. Yes, so you can highlight them separate, or if that's giving you problems, highlight everything, but go and edit out on the Select Data button. Go and now do the alignment the way you want it. That is also another alternative. I hope that helps. I hope that helps. You shall have still inserted the same graph with the variables that you need. I believe Maria and any other person who had that problem, now it is solved. Now, what graph have we drawn? We've drawn a graph of revenue and profit after tax. You can see the colors have been given there. So what we do, make sure you name your axis using the chart elements tab. I've already shown you where it is. Now, go and give the title. The title answers the question. What question did they ask? It is a graph. And I told you, if possible, give the name of the chart. We've inserted clustered. Clustered. Let me just type it. Clustered column chart showing. Clustered column chart showing revenue and profit after tax, like that. Profit after tax, like that. So that one you good. Then now the y-axis. What is the y-axis showing? The y-axis is showing revenue in shillings. Where did I get shillings? We were given the currency in the question. They gave the figures were in shillings. Remember, it is the shillings there. So it's good whenever you are mentioning revenue, you just also say the currency. Revenue, you can put currency in bracket as shillings using initials or type it in full the way I've done. The x-axis, obviously, these are now units. These are units like that. And you are done with that chart. So part B is done. Part B is done. Are we together, members, up to that point? I just need a confirmation. Are we together? Are we together up to that point?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Mika. Thank you, Gracie, Vayo, Cynthia. All right. Penina is there. Good, good, good. So, members, let's move to the part C and see what the examiner was testing. So, part C, the examiner,
Excuse
the
me,
question, yes.
I think y-axis is the units and the x-axis is the revenue. I think it's the vice versa.
Why do you think so? Justify. Because as far as I'm concerned, my x-axis is units and y is the revenue. So justify why you think the way you think. Justify, justify. Justify. Are you able to justify, Winnie? You know, at this level, every argument is correct so long as you can justify and convince us.
Malim,
Are
if
you?
we check, yeah, I want to try to justify. If we check the units, 20,000 units gives us a revenue of 35,000. And if we check in the graph,
Which unit? 20,000 units.
yes, gives
Gives
us
us?
a revenue of 35.
No.
After.
35,000 is profit after tax, not revenue. Revenue is 200,000.
Oh,
20,000 is giving us revenue of 200,000. You see the line here? This revenue here from our tabulation. 35 is the profit after tax. You see profit after tax. This, I don't know whether this is orange. This is what shows. You see, when I put my cursor there, are you seeing the figures written? Value is 35 million. Profit after tax. Are you seeing that?
yes.
Yes. So is our chart correct?
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
Very good. So let's go to the last part of the questions, and we read here. The management of this company, now they want to evaluate the effect of selling at various percentages above the break-even point. Effect of selling at various percentages above the break-even. Now that we already know the break-even, So if they want to evaluate selling, effect of selling at various percentages above the break-even, that already should tell us where to start from. Now, we want to answer the question part C. I'm using just my working side. So I've written part C. And if they want to start to compare the effect of selling at various percentages above the break-even, so we start from the units, and the units we are starting from break-even units because they want to start comparing above. So we are starting from 10,000, 10,000. So let me just read the question and we finish. They were saying, evaluating the effect of selling at various percentages above the break-even point, beginning from 0% and in batches of 5% change point up to 50%, up to 50%. Do you know what these people are trying to test? They are trying to test growth rate in a very nice, smart way. They're trying to do forecasting. They're trying to do forecasting. And the forecasting they're going to do, they're just telling you that it is in batches of 5%. Now, if we are changing the break-even point in batches of 5%, what we're simply doing is growing the break-even point in units by 5%, 5%, 5%, 5%. You see that? And they're giving you that range all the way to 50% in batches of 5. So 5, we go to 10, then from 10, we go to 15, like that, like that. Now, I want to put it in a simple format so that you understand it better. Now, remember, the break-even point in units, because this is what we are growing, this is what we are changing. So the break-even point in units is constant. That one is okay. And I've just put it randomly. You don't have to count how many rows I've given there. I've just put it randomly. So do not worry about that. Now, what is going to guide us is the second column. Now, we want to change, they want to test the effect of selling at different percentages above the break-even point. And the percentage, they're beginning from 0 in batches of 5, all the way to 50. So if they're beginning from 0% change, how do you do 0% change? Now, we say, what is the expected or forecasted? We can still use the word forecasted sales in units. Remember, this is units because they are working with the break-even point in units. Now, if the first one is 0% change, in batches of 0% change, we want to use the same approach I gave you about forecasting. I said if you want to use growth rates, employ the bracket format. I normally love it. Equal sign, open bracket, 1 plus. What is the percentage change that they are effecting here? There are two ways. There are two ways. For someone who wants to refer to the changes written in a column, you can go ahead and do that. And in fact, I can just put it here for just somebody to see. Let me shift this one here. Now, what changes are we doing? 0%. In batches of 5%, I can come here and write 5%. You see that? Now, the interval is 5% and it goes all the way to 50%. So I could drag until 50%. You see that? Those are the changes. I think this one now will make someone see it better. Like this. This is what the examiner is saying. They're saying that this company is trying to check on the effect of selling price, changing selling price at various percentages above the break-even point, beginning from 0 in batches of 5 up to 50. Then we are told to plot a graph, revenue, target profit after tax, and margin of safety. Now, margin of safety element is coming in here. We're going to see it shortly and get to understand what it means. Now, break-even point in units was 10. They're trying to evaluate what is the impact of changing. Forecasted. I want to use forecasted changes in percentage. They're trying to evaluate if the break-even point in units, above the break-even point, they want to change by 0%, 5%. What will be the impact on the revenue, on the profits? What will be the impact on profits? So if we consider these changes, we want to see what is the expected sales in units with these changes now. Put an equal sign, open bracket, say 1 plus. Now refer to this cell of the change for the first one, the first change that we are doing. Yes, refer to that. You don't have to lock anything. Close bracket, multiply by. What are we changing? Our reference point is break-even point in units. That is our reference point. Break-even point in units is our reference point. So we are changing our break-even point in units by 0%. What are we getting? It is still the same 10 because the change is just 0%. We go, and now because we've set that formula, we go to the second bit. What will happen when we change it by 5%? Now you see our break-even point in units now changes to 10,500 units. What now will happen if we change our break-even by 10%? If I drag this formula a bit, you'll see now by 10% change, we are having 11,000. We are changing break-even point units by 10%. We are increasing it by 10% or growing it by 10%. It is coming to 11,000. Then that trend will follow suit to the end. So these are the expected sales in units with the changes of interval of 5 from 0 to 50. Are we on track as I proceed? Are we on track? Have we understood that?
Excuse me, Mwalimu.
Yes.
Could you repeat your explanation about the break-even points in units and how you are doing the percentage and the expected sales? Can you repeat it?
Have you understood where I've got the percentage from?
Yes.
Have you understood? Do you agree that our break-even point in units is 10,000?
Yes.
Very good. What we are doing, we are effecting the changes that we already now know onto our break-even point. So what we are doing forecasting. If we change our break-even point, if we increase or we subject it to this 5% change, the reason why I'm using the word change is because a change can be positive or negative. So far, all these percentage changes are in positive, meaning we are growing or we are increasing our break-even point by the percentages. So the formula I've used is the formula we used doing forecasting. You can as well do the manual way of effecting the change. If it is 0%, you know that one has no effect. 0% plus 100% still remains 100. So 100% by 10,000, still the same figure. If you subject to a change of positive 5%, in essence, you are adding 5% to 100. So what you're simply doing is you're multiplying 105% by the break-even point in units, and you'll still get 10,500. So I've just used the bracket approach, 1 plus the 5%. The change is positive. That's why I'm using plus. That's why I'm using plus. We multiply by the break-even in units so that we get the forecasted units or the expected units after that change. The same explanation applies to the rest. If we are changing by 10% positive, it is similar to adding 10% to 100. That will give us 110%. Now, with 100% and 10% change, it is change on what? On the break-even point in units, multiplied by the break-even point in units, which is 10,000. What are we getting? 11,000. It is the same thing. It's just that I used the bracket approach. Adding this percentage change, this cell of L96, is the same as adding 10% to 100%. This one denotes 100%. So you can either use the bracket approach or the manual approach, adding the percentage on top of 100 if it is a positive change. If this change was negative, we would deduct from 100%, then we multiply by the break-even point in units. Now, this break-even point in units, you don't have to list all of them for each row. You can as well type the 10,000 in one cell because it is the break-even point in units anyway. Then you subject it to these changes and you refer to that cell, and the only thing you need to do is to lock that cell fully because break-even point in units is not changing. The only thing that is changing are the percentage changes. Break-even point in units is not changing, it is 1. The only thing that we are changing is the forecasting, the variations that we've been given from 0%, interval of 5%, all the way to 50. This is what is changing, and it is subject to the break-even point in units. Did the member who was asking, have you gotten it? The member who was asking, have you gotten it? I didn't get the name. Did you get it? There was a lady.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Cynthia. Someone else is asking something.
Mwalimu, in where we have BEP in units, why not choose the ones in the table above? That is from 11,000 all the way up to where we have 50%, because we've been told we're evaluating the effect of selling at various percentages above the break-even point. So I tend to believe units above break-even point begins with 11,000 from our table. Then we autofill all that up to where we have now our 50% down there. Is there anything wrong with that?
I want you to understand the question very well. The management of this company is evaluating the effect of selling at various percentages above. Various percentages, not coming here and saying, what are the units which are beyond break-even? So that you pick these units. No. It is percentages above. So that's why they're giving us the percentages so that because the reason why they're saying above, that's why we've changed it positive. It's a positive change. It is above the break-even. This is the reference point. So if I go with your argument, then you know what you mean? We'll come and copy these ones here. And then we bring those units above the break-even and say, now, these are the units you're working with. Now, if you pick those units, which are above the break-even, do you want to tell me now those units you have to subject again the change? We are forecasting. So the language here is very simple. Our reference point is break-even point. And that's why they are saying effect of selling at various percentages above the break-even. So break-even is our reference point, and we are we are varying the percentages above the break-even, and the percentages are in batches. 0, batches of 5. So 0 to 5 to 10, like that, up to 50. Yes? So you do not pick those units which are beyond, because if you want to pick them beyond the break-even point, and again, you want to subject them to the percentage changes. You see, now what our reference point has now changed. What will be your reference point? What will be your reference point? We want to check the effect because this is our point 0. This is our point 0. What is the effect if you change this unit by 0%? What is the effect if you change this unit, which is our reference point, by 5%? If we change the unit by 10%, if we change the unit by 15%, you see, in batches of 5, 5, we want to see the effect with reference to this, our point. So you do not go and pick the units which are beyond the break-even. No. I hope, members, we are together there. I hope we are together there. So that's why we have given our reference point to be the break-even. So we are just checking the changes above it using this range. If we change it by 5%, what happens? If we change it by 10, what happens? And we check on all those changes until we reach 50. What will be the impact? Then now from there, we ask ourselves, what are we trying to check? Remember, at break-even point, no profit, no loss, point 0. At that point 0, you see the examiner went ahead and gave us something here. They said, beginning from that and all that, plot a graph depicting target revenue. Target. What is the target revenue with those changes? Then, target profit. What is the target profit? We are going to plot that. Then, margin of safety. Target profit after tax, then margin of safety. Now, with this information, do we know what margin of safety is? Margin of safety is the variation or the variance between the break-even point, and we compare it with the expected sales in units after these changes. The margin of safety, what we are getting above the break-even point at each of these levels of changes, that is the margin of safety. So we can as well come and check on the margin of safety in units. Remember, we are still dealing with units here. What is the margin of safety? It is what is above the break-even point when we subject it to this change. So in this case, number 1, if the change is 0, then we don't have any margin of safety. We are not safe. We've not made any profit. We are not safe. So we don't have a margin of safety. It is 0. But when we come to part 2, if our break-even point is 0, but if we effect a change of 5%, then we expect to sell 10,500, meaning we are safe by 500,000 units. We are going to make a profit by 500,000 units. So it is a positive change. Being a positive change, in fact, I should start with expected, we compare with the break-even. It is a positive change. So this 500 denotes a margin of safety with the change of 5%. Now, what if we move a notch higher? If we are safe by 500,000 units, 500 units at 5% change, what is now the margin of safety when we make a change, when we produce more units by another 10% now, above the break-even? Now, if we go ahead and produce higher by another 5%, by 10% above the break-even, then now we are even safe by 1,000 units now. This margin of safety is where our extra profit is coming from. That is our target. Target revenue is coming from there. Target revenue is coming from there. So our margin of safety now goes up. And that trend continues the same way. Whatever we produce extra above the break-even adds us more profit. So the margin of safety keeps rising like that. Then, after that, we ask ourselves, remember, this is margin of safety in units. We've not computed the margin of safety in terms of value, in terms of shillings. We have our expected sales or the target. We can call it target or expected. Either term is still okay. These changes we are doing so that we have a target, our target sales. Now, we can as well get the margin of safety now in terms of shillings. Or we can as well, I can as well move this margin of safety just a bit, and then with the expected sales, yes, in units, we can now get expected sales in shillings first. Expected sales in shillings. So we can say expected or target. I told you those terms, you can use them alternately. It is either target because there is a change that they want to do. They're proposing a change. Expected or target sales. Now, this one is in shillings. Remember that. That one now is coming in shillings. Yes? So for the target sales or target revenue in shillings, we are going to pick the units that now we expect to have, which is now this one, after the change. And remember, our sales price per unit, we were given sales price per unit, right? It was given in the question up there. Our selling price per unit remains the same. That one has not changed. And because I want to autofill, let me fully lock that selling price per unit because it is remaining constant like that. Then I autofill to the end. So I have my expected or target sales with these new changes of expected sales in units. So I have expected sales or target sales in shillings with reference to these units and the selling price per unit which you are given. After that, now we ask ourselves, margin of safety I've explained. The number of units above the break-even point after we effected this, if we effect this change, if we effect these changes, we expect our margin of safety to be this much in units. Now, can we get margin of safety in shillings? The answer is yes. This one are units. By how much are we safe in terms of shillings? We are safe in terms of units here. But how do we translate the number of units in our safety to shillings now? How much in shillings are we safe? So we talk about margin of safety, but now in shillings, like that. Margin of safety in shillings, and we go ahead and compute it. The same selling price per unit we were given. We have the margin of safety in units. So how much do we need? Everything we need, we have. So margin of safety, we start by selling price per unit, which is we were given in the first instance, and we fully lock that cell. Then we multiply by the number of margin of safety in units to get margin of safety in shillings. That formula I autofill to the end like that. So up to that point, remember, we are looking at expected effect on the profit after tax. That was the question here. We are supposed to plot a graph which shows target profit after tax. Target profit after tax. So we already have target revenue. How do we get profit? We compare revenue and cost, right? That is the first thing that we did. So what we do here now, because we already have target profit, target revenue, why don't we bring on board the total cost? We compare the total cost with the target revenue, we see our target profit after tax. Now, cost has two elements, like I had said before. The only thing that is going to change is the variable cost. And I want to do everything in one cell here. Let me just type it here for somebody to see. Total cost is total fixed cost plus total variable cost. That one we know. We started by that. So I want to use that formula to put everything in one cell. I put an equal sign and I refer to total fixed cost, which we were given, and it remains the same. And I fully lock it. Why am I locking it? That one is not changing. Then I add, I'm following this formula, total fixed cost plus total variable cost. Now, under variable cost is where there is a change. Why? Why am I talking about change? Remember, we are working with expected total cost. And we already have expected units, expected sales or target units when we change it. So to get the total variable cost, we normally multiply variable cost per unit by the number of units. So where is our variable cost per unit? We were given. So I want to open a bracket to compute our total variable cost. The bracket, I refer to the variable cost per unit which we were given, and it is here. That value remains constant, so I fully lock it using F4. I multiply that variable cost per unit by the number of units. Which units am I picking? I'm picking the target sales in units or the expected sales in units. So I'm picking on this one here after the changes so that we get expected total cost. Remember, we have expected revenue. We have to compare with the expected cost that we are likely to pay so that we have expected profit after tax. Everything is expected. We are forecasting. They're trying to test if they are going to expect any profit or what will be the changes. I close the bracket and I confirm. Once I set that formula here, it remains the same. I just autofill. I just autofill like that. Members, are we together? Are we there, members?
Repeat
I may
kind
be
of
alone. Where are you lost? I want you to be specific. I want you to be specific. Ask a specific part.
total fixed cost.
Total fixed cost was given. That one is not changing. It was given in the question.
Oh, total cost. I mean total cost.
Total cost has fixed cost and variable cost. The formula I've written here. So in this my formula, you see total fixed cost. I've locked the cell where there is total fixed cost because that one is remaining constant. Then what you add is total variable. How do you get total variable cost? Variable cost per unit multiplied by the number of units. And variable cost per unit is remaining constant. It was given up here. So I've just referred to it. Variable cost per unit. And you fully lock it. But when you come to the number of units now you're multiplying it with, you refer to the target sales in units. You refer to the expected sales in units, like that. I hope you've gotten something there. Okay, now, after we have that, is someone really speaking? I can't get you. I can't get you clearly. I can't get you clearly at all.
I was asking, how did you get a margin of safety in shillings?
See, it is just the margin of safety in units times the price, the selling price per unit. Selling price per units you are given up there. You multiply by this margin of safety in units, which I believe you remember how we got it. Did you remember how we got the margin of safety in units? Did you? Now the member is quiet.
Yes.
So if you already have your margin of safety in units, just multiply that margin of safety in units by the selling price per unit. So we need it in shillings.
Okay.
Yeah, you just multiply by the selling price per unit. All right. So members, once we have that now, we can compute our expected profit after tax or target profit after tax. You can call it target or expected. Target or expected. Target profit after tax or expected profit after tax. Either way, they still mean the same thing. Target or expected. Why is it coming in bold, in capital like that? Okay. So it's either expected or target. Now, you know how we get profit. Profit is the difference between revenue and cost. So I will come here and just compare the two. What is our expected revenue? In shillings, it is here. These are 100 million. That is what we target to get with after those changes. Compare that with the cost you expect to pay after the changes. So the cost is total cost. Just get the difference between the two. So you realize that profit after tax at break-even point is zero still because it is still break-even. But if you start effecting the changes from 5%, now you see your profit after tax. Your profit after tax is expected to be
Mwalimu,
2.5. Yes?
is it really after tax? Ama before? The one we are getting.
Oh,
I think should be before.
this should be before. Thank you for that. I forgot to compute the tax. So we can go ahead and compute the tax. And if you want after tax, I don't even have to compute tax anyway. Tax is how much? You are given 30%, right? So if tax is 30%, let me just get 70% of that. Thank you for that. I forgot about the tax bit. So profit after tax is the difference between expected revenue or sales minus total cost, and we get 70% of it after we deduct the tax. That gives us profit after tax. I believe you understand that mode I've used to compute it. So my profit after tax comes there. You can as well compute tax on the profit. So you can get profit first, compute tax, deduct, then come up with profit after tax. So in short, what you've just done is to get 70% of the profit. How do you get profit? Difference between these two. So instead of coming up with a column for profit, then you compute tax, then you deduct to get profit after tax, you can do all that in one cell. Get profit. This is how to get profit. Then 70% of the profit is the profit after tax because tax was 30%. I believe now that makes sense. I just autofill to the end. And we have our target or expected profit after tax. So members, I think we are together up to that point. And, I believe that you've understood. So up to this point, what is remaining is just inserting that graph, drawing the graph, plotting the graph. And already you have everything you need to plot. Target revenue, target profit after tax, and margin of safety. So target revenue, this is what you need to plot. Target revenue, which is here. This one. Target profit after tax, target profit after tax. This is here, or expected profit after tax. And then margin of safety. Remember, we are dealing in values, in shillings, margin of safety in shillings. Those are the things you need to plot. Those are the things you need to plot. So once you've highlighted, if you go to insert and even go to recommended charts, it will already give you recommended charts for that. It will even give you recommended charts for that. And because we have three variables, I can also bring the units so that I take one to the secondary axis. Yes, I can bring units and take one to the secondary axis. I can start with units, not this one, the expected. I can start with expected units, then target revenue, then margin of safety in shillings, then target profit after tax. Then when I go to insert and go to recommended, does it give me any recommendation of a combo? Because I have three variables and I want margin of safety to go to the secondary axis. So I will go to all charts. You can go to all charts here. Then I choose combo. Then I want to say that in my combo, you see they've given me here the figures. Expected sales in units, let it just remain in clustered. But margin of safety, I want it to be online, but under secondary axis. Again, target profit after tax, these are values. I want it to be in clustered column, in column. So these ones, all of them column, but margin of safety, let it be, in the secondary axis like that. Then if I confirm, you see the appearance of my chart like that, like that. So let me just pull it down a bit again.
How to choose that line in the margin of safety?
You go to the combo. The type of chart you are inserting is combo. You go to combo. Let me show you again. Insert all charts. Then you go to this combo, go to all charts, then you just scroll down. You see combo?
Yes.
Yes, now at combo part, now you choose, you have the variables. You remember you've already highlighted, so it will give you the names of the variables. There is expected sales in units, there is target sales or expected, then margin of safety. So under margin of safety, choose line. The type of chart is line. Then you click on the secondary axis, that button of secondary axis, so that you have it. You see the trend of margin of safety. So as you keep changing the units, margin of safety is also increasing, as you had seen from here. You see, as you change the units, margin of safety is increasing from 0, 500, 1,000 units and all that. And you can as well still go to chart design and select data to change. Remember, our x-axis should be having units, right? So it is written 1, 2, 3, but I want it to have the margin of safety in units so that it shows all the units like that. And you'll see that under my x-axis now, it's writing the units according to the changes, after the changes, 0 to 500 to 1,000, like that. And remember to always name your access. This is something we've done several times, so you don't really need to. I doubt if someone should be having a problem here. This is revenue in shillings. And then after having your revenue in shillings, you have, just a second, my computer is almost off. I think time has also gone. It is past the usual time. I think we also need to just stop. I just didn't want to leave it hanging. X-axis is units. And then the title, now you have to reflect on the question you are asked. So you can start with the type of the chart. You can say combo chart showing, why is it mixing up? Combo chart showing revenue, margin of safety, and expected or target profit after tax, like that. So that one can be my title, and I think that's all the examiner wanted there. According to the question, it is all about representing. They didn't want us to show anything. We just plot it and that's it. So members, I think that is it. And that ends that question. So I will share with you the workings so that you look at it and go through it again in case you need to check on clarity